So all of this is the pre-production of making the zine. This is the final version, and this is sort of steps I took before I sent the final order to get the zines printed. I'll try to explain a little bit. I'll try to give some tips if I can, like if you want to do something like this, what you should be considering, you know, and some of the behind the scenes as well, like creating the type, maybe cover design, things are considered. Yeah, it should be useful. Okay, I'm gonna keep everything on the table so we know where we are when I'm flipping through. So first thing I ever did after I had an idea of creating a zine, I had a very simple idea. I saw like an Instagram video where someone was showing like a very tiny zine, like folded like that. And there's so many different versions of folding the zine, and I like this one because of the concept I had, like the ink and the painting on each page. And it didn't matter what sort of page I had on me. So I had an A4 page and I folded it multiple times and see how many sides I get, right? All these 1, 2, 3, 4, counted all of them. See how many rectangles I get, basically. Rectangle will make sense soon. And seeing what, like the page stage I get. So if this page was an A1 page, right? Oh, I'll keep it this way. If this page was an A1 page, it would come down to A5 size. So it'd be this big zine. And if it was an A2 page, it would come down to A7. So I had like in my mind, like, okay, if I'm gonna do like a particular size, I need to know what size I need to print it on. And I've written down as well, up to 30 pages, 15 ink, 15 paintings as well. And once I had this in my mind, I'm like, okay, A7 sounds like a good size. But that meant I also had to find places that are like, that can print both sides, basically, in those kind of sizes. And A2, A1 are very difficult to find out. I don't think anyone does them. A2 maybe. So it came down to A3. That meant I can print it on A3 page and fold it down to A6, I think. Is it A6 or A7? One of them. And the next part was to actually fold the zine, number them up, so you know what's gonna be where, in which orientation. So when you fold it all together, everything is in order. So there you go. I wrote down front cover, back cover, right? This is after folding the zine, right? So it's like, oh, I want to go from here to here, and then the next page, and the next page, right? So on. And then you can see I've numbered them down. And also knew I wanted to go on behind as well there. So 17, 18, you know, it keeps going. And then I saw like, oh, there's more flips here, right? There's like potential to use these as well. And once you unfold all of these, right, you have your layout. If you don't know, if you're from America, right, so any A pages, so like A1, A2, A3, A4, 5, A6, they just create, like, when you fold them, it just creates the next A page. So it's very handy for this sort of stuff. Now you can see like the whole layout on each side. There you go. And then what you notice is like this is facing this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one, it turns the other way. So this is very crucial stuff. So when you print it, you know everything orientated in the exact position you want it to be, right? So that can go like that. So now we had our layout. Now what I had to do next was create a layout in the software. I used InDesign, came up with it, printed it out. Turns out it didn't go as planned, right? Now this 3, 4 is there, 1, 2, 3. You see, it's not kind of adding up. If I were to flip from this side, it's like 13, 14, 15, 16, 9, 10, right? And so it's like, what happened there is that something's not adding up, right? Front cover is like kind of hidden there. So what I found was, I've written down as well, right? So when printer flips its page inside the printer, it needs to know which side so when it's printed out, it needs to know what side are you going to flip to read the next page, right? So this would be flipping on short edge, this would be flipping on long edge. So that's what the printer needs to know what you're going to be doing, right? And then I found out that when I print this zine out, it needs to be printed on a short edge, and then that layout worked. So front cover, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know the rest. But now the next stupid thing happened is folds are not aligning. I'm like, what just happened? Right? It's bigger there, smaller there, and I'm like, it's supposed to fold perfectly, like, because it's an A paper. And then I went back to my software to double check things, and it turns out my grid wasn't done correctly. So I just figured out, like, where the pages will be folded and how much gap do I want, like a margin for each image, and I figured that out as well. So this was something I printed. So not everything is printed on A4 page initially at home, black and white, just to see if it works. I don't want to go start printing in color when I haven't even figured out my layout. So this is where I started. Printed this out. Well, things are working pretty well. Look how tiny this is. It's so cute. I wish I had made it this size as well. But like I said, I go a size bigger than this. I know the final size will be double, like here, right? Now the layout works. Now I need to know how it looks, the actual size, how the colors might look like. Even though I went to local printer, so I just had to see, like, the quality just needs to be decent, like not perfect. Like, I'm using black and white here, right, just to figure things out. So I just needed to see in color. Didn't matter like how great the quality is, because I know the final one will be printed on a nice paper, nice colors, everything. So that was the next one I printed. I went to a local printer, asked the guy what to do. I told him to print it on short edge as well, like flip it on short edge. And this, what it looked like. You can see something's still not right? So when I was talking to you about, like, the grid isn't right, the grid layout I've created, it wasn't right. I haven't figured it out yet after printing these two. But like I said, with printing at home, I'm pretty much flipping the page myself, and things could be back and forth a little bit. It can make a lot of difference anyway. But I think this is where I still haven't figured out the layout. You can see, like, look how the image is cut off on top. There's gap at the bottom. The right side is completely different. You'll see page after page, like how things are. right? Here, even the images, the other images is showing up. So that's where it clicked. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I went back to the grid on my software, fixed the grid, and I've written it down as well. So here's like the things that's going wrong in red. Misalignment, so wrong grid, and sharp corners. And that's another thing, I didn't want sharp corners anymore. I made this zine first, so everything was rounded off. So I was like, that needs to match here as well. Just remembered while I was making these corrections. What does that say? Oh, and I've written here, maybe increase the row and column gutter here, so the gap between the images is a bit bigger. So when you create a grid, end of the pages, right, will have a different margin number. Between the images will be doubled, right, because it's the gap of for this image and that image. So you have to like go in and figure that out. Set the margin, set the columns double, right? And then round off the corners, yep. And then flip the lonely branch. Oh yeah, so I think I made the decision to, so when you see this zine, when you see this artwork and you see them like that, now they're facing the other way, but let's say you're holding it like this, which is fine. Now they're facing each other, right? So I wanted them to face the same way, so you can hold them up like that and look at the images, compare. So they kind of were facing the opposite direction, so that's another fix, right? So that was it, and this I think was the final version I went to get printed locally to check the final thing that I want to get printed. This was the final zine. So everything is perfect, nice border around the corners, and then everything is like, look, folded neatly because the grid is working perfectly. And then if you look at the lonely branch artwork, when you unfold it like that, it should face like that. Really nice, really beautiful, very rewarding. So I'll come to this in a second. So this chapter was closed here, and then that means I could send this to printers, right? So that's the mini zine. Also, I made mini zine after making the big one because I knew that involved more work, and making a mini zine from this would just take less work and less elements to create, so it would be easy to create afterwards. Put that aside, you can see it in the shot still for you. Now, before I started making the zine, first thing I wanted to figure out was what the type is going to look like, the title, the typeface, technical term, and what the cover is going to be. Before I even started making the zine, I was like, I need to get this done before I start laying everything out. It started right here in the sketchbook. So what do we have here? So first I had idea of sort of yin yang going on, because I had this painting where like two koi fishes are like in a circle on a record player. I thought that I could just trim that into sort of yin yang thing. I thought that would be nice, or different way of doing that. I had different concept of what I wanted, and I wanted to basically, like I said, the yin yang concept, not just the shape, the concept of like good, bad, black and white, you know, all those things, and I thought it would work really well because I had like two opposing things, like the black and white artwork and then the colorful artwork, and that's the whole thing going on throughout the zine, like noir hues. They don't put together, they don't go together. So I thought that would be really cool to see. Cool to see. And these were the initial poster design ideas I had. I did this for the web page banner, just to let people know what I'm doing. But look, another cover design there. And I initially I was like, I'm gonna have 4 different types of zines, so might as well have a different cover design for each one. If I had the same cover design for every type of zine, I think that can start to look repetitive and boring. Everything looking the same. Whereas having a different cover design kind of makes it exciting. And I went in Photoshop and quickly started iterating these, see if it actually works. Just rough, just cutting and chopping things up, putting them together to see if it works. And then as I was doing this, like what sort of thing I want to do, this is all Bobsy material. I wanted to see like, okay, what I'm gonna do with noir, the word noir, because they're all ink, noir, black and white artwork. I thought I need to maybe work with like brush strokes, trying to see if I can do something with that, different ideas. While I was doing that, I was also like the cover design ideas were coming in my head, like that and this, which eventually got used in this cover design, which you are familiar with now. Like the whole thing with black and white and the painting, they're all going together, they're like reflecting each other, bouncing off each other. So that whole thing going throughout the whole thing was really good. I felt very confident with that as well. I thought that I can't come up with a better idea after that. And just making rough brush marks, trying to see what can work and what not. And look, this one's nice, I like that one. And just kept going on. I even asked my sister like to write noir in her writing, just to get like a different hand to do this rather than me doing everything, because I'm set in my ways of doing things. So getting another person to look at all of this with fresh eyes and not even know what all of this is great, because she came in, started writing it. And looking at it now, that looks really nice. That's nice. I like the N leg kind of going under the O. But yeah, so many different ways. That's pretty energetic. Yes, all of this narrowed down to something I really liked was here. Like O kind of circling. O getting circled by the letter here. And then I thought maybe I should keep everything lowercase, and hues will be all uppercase. So, and again, that contrast between two things, that's lovely. And I ended up going with lowercase, something like that as well. I drew this with I made straight lines, started doing it properly, so I can take this in Illustrator and then do it there perfectly and then adjust things. And this eventually became the noir hue that's on the cover, but I was like, that does not look like a lowercase, even though it's the same height as OIR. So I picked up a tracing paper, which is upstairs. I'll get it. Now, this line art is great, like that, to erase and then go in there, do things differently. But I wanted to see how it looks like filled out, right? So that's what I did next, right? Filled it out, just so my eyes can see the actual thing that's going to be printed, because that is anything. And then that was the next step, to make the N lowercase there, and that was the final one. And I can move things close to each other, apart from, away from each other, tilt, do all those things inside the software. And that was literally this is the final thing, as you can see. And the hues was all digitally done. Like, you know how I experimented here? So I experimented with shapes inside Illustrator, which is another story. So that was out of the way. That was the trademark for noir hues. And now I wanted to create a cover design. Okay, to talk about the cover design, I need to see it in color. Okay, so I designed the whole thing, and as you can see, kind of yin yang thing, right? So black and color, black and white and color, opposing each other, mirroring each other, right? And another artwork here, that's like black and white and then color, and then giving you like a hint what might be inside as well. So like black and white color has its own swatch here, and color one here as well. And if you see this line that's cutting through the color in black and white, right, that's transforming into same thing like here, like there, right? Black line there, and transforming into color. When I say black, I mean look, black and white transforming into color. And this line should give you a little hint what is going on. This whole thing is actually a yin yang. And these circles are from that. See, you see that, right? Circle cutting through that circle there, you know, just little those details for those designers out there, you know, that should be just that's the only hint. A nice thin line, and that's the theme throughout the whole thing, right? Okay, try to remember this shape back here as well. Okay, the shape that this artwork is in. I'll show you that later on. But yeah, so once I was done with the cover, I had to see what it looks like in my hand. Doesn't matter if it's black and white or color. I only had black and white, but I just had to see things look correct. You know, high quality, the size makes sense because you can zoom in, zoom out all day on computer. Next thing I had to do was come up with some layout design. Okay, even though I could just go in software and start putting things together, it felt too daunting just to go straight into it. So like everything, did it here first. So let me show you the quick thing I did. Okay, so this layout design I did quickly. So like you know, different artworks have different sizes in my inventory basically, and I had to figure out how to lay them on a page that makes sense and have hierarchy, so your eye travels nicely around the page. And I did a quick test to see if it can work. Then I jumped into InDesign. So next stage, I printed out the whole book into booklet format, which you can do in InDesign to see everything works. And like I said, black and white again, doesn't matter, right? I need to see if this whole thing works. So, right? Yep, I work there, paintings there, things work, you know. And next thing I did was go to my local printer again, get it all printed in color. By the way, just stapled it quickly. So I didn't have one of those long staplers that can like staple in the middle. So I got like a staple gun, put like one of those foam boards under, stapled in the middle, right? So you staple straight down, and then I folded it myself, you know, DIY. And then the next one was in color. Now this was the final thing before I send it to print to see everything works. What I did here was stitch it myself. So I put some few holes in there and use this thread, do like a proper stitching. So I did that as well. Now I knew how it worked, showed it to some people, they approved. Next thing was to get it all done. and that's the zine you've been seeing. And this is kind of like a little bit of look into what went into this zine. Obviously there's a lot more to this, like, because it takes too many skills to do all of this. Like, graphic design has been the main key thing to make everything work. And hopefully I think you can take something from this, and skip some of these errors that I did in this one. You know, what I recommend is, like, really printing your own thing first at home, seeing if it works, right? Once you know everything works correctly, then go to your local printer, get it printed in color, the size that you're gonna need it in. Then everything, when you looked at everything, checked it, everything works fine, then send it off to a printer, like the main production people. Because if you're doing self-publishing, you need to go through all of this so you avoid any unnecessary costs or cause inconvenience to yourself. And that's it. I'm thinking about even turning into like this big lesson as well, but then it will become a course. I think it could be handy for people. Also, I'm gonna try to make this into a template that people can use. Might sell it or send it through newsletter. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But yeah, this has been a small kind of part into what went into making this zine. Obviously there's a lot more thought process and designing behind all of this, but hopefully this was kind of, give you an understanding of what goes into this, and maybe a few tips that may have helped. Great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching, my brother. Hope you like it. Oh, by the way, that shape I was talking about is, can you guess? It's right there.